Coming to you live from Shea 312 in Baltimore, Maryland. Our next guest is a cut above the rest. His razor-sharp wit is legendary and certainly never dull. By far the sharpest tool in the shed. He'll bring a knife to a gunfight. Any way you slice it, his tools of the trade earn an A+ grade. Please welcome Henry Hyde.
How's it going?
Doing well, man. How are you today?
We're doing pretty good.
Good.
Yeah,
Nice sunny day out here in sunny Baltimore.
Nice. I feel like that intro kind of reminds me of a shampoo commercial, even though I'm the one that wrote most of it. Don't know why.
I thought tools of the trade with an A+ grade. That's Fowler writing right there.
That is very much Fowler writing.
I thought that was so good. So thank you.
Nice. Yeah. It's an overcast day here in the wonderful state of Georgia, and the 12-year cicadas have emerged. And I don't know if you guys are gonna get them, but they make the weirdest sound I think I've ever heard anything in nature. It kind of sounds
I thought that they were in Maryland. I haven't heard them at all.
They may not be. I think they come out between April and June, depending. We just got them kind of early. I'm sure I've heard the sound before, but it sounds like a fucking campy sci-fi movie effect. And it's been constant for the past 3 days. Yeah. It's not the usual one, but the others. Anyway, Henry, nice to meet you. That's another stupid joke that we wrote. Yeah. Do you just to start? Obviously, you said you're in Baltimore, so we can skip that. But can you give us a quick rundown, a 1-minute CV, if you will, of Henry Hyde?
Sure. Born and raised in Maryland. I moved down to South Carolina for college and started cooking professionally in the kitchens of Charleston. And quickly learned how to sharpen knives, started sharpening knives for the people I was working with. And if you know anything about food and bev workers, they're always trying to get out of food and bev. So I tried to get out of it by finding a craft that was related to knives, which I was really interested in. And I found a local knife maker, and I asked him how to get started. He brought me up to his workshop, and after the first day of making a knife together, he was like, you want to be my apprentice?
Oh, shit. That's
and
awesome.
I apprenticed under him. Yeah, I apprenticed under him for a year, and then moved up here and started my own business. And then COVID happened, so I was locked in my workshop for basically a year and a half, which really helped me grow my business, and people were buying stuff, so it was great. And now we're trying to scale the business and make it more successful.
Oh, that's cool. Is it so? Do you have partners in the business that you work with?
Not partners. I've got one employee now.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah.
How long?
That's like a milestone, right?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
How long were you in the cooking world? I feel like Charleston is pretty well known for their restaurant scene.
For sure, yeah. I worked there. I mean, Charleston's a very food and bev and tourist town, so as a college job, I picked it up for beer money and walking around money and stuff like that. So, I worked in food and bev for 3 or 4 years. I started in front of house, and I was getting screamed at by both the cooks and the other servers, and sometimes the guests. And so I was I'd like to get screamed at a little bit less. So I thought if I worked in the kitchen, I'd only get screamed at by the chefs and not by the front of house people. So
That's
moved
awesome.
over there. Yeah, I enjoyed cooking. It's a really good, skill. I can cook like a
motherfucker.
This is an adults only program. So
you could. You will. I can almost guarantee you will not curse nearly as much as I do. So
okay,
feel
cool. Yeah,
feel free, my friend.
Yeah.
They mark us already with their algorithm, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, totally.
We're an explicit program.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a really good learning experience, and I knew that I was an international business major in college and did one internship in offices, and knew that that was not for me pretty much immediately. And so working in kitchens, I always really liked doing it. You're on your feet, you're moving around, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, people come up to you and say that was a great meal, and
Oh,
you get a
yeah,
little bit
yeah.
more reward out of that. Not terrible pay, but terrible
Right.
hours as well. But it was that kind of that got me into thinking, I should work with my hands for a living,
Totally.
and so
Yeah.
here I am.
I think it's Anthony Bourdain on the Mark Maron podcast where he's like talks about how cooking is kind of a like you get an instant gratification because you hear like feedback coming off the floor or whatever. Like I am not a foodie, I'm not really a food person, but yeah, it's interesting that
Yeah, yeah.
that you mentioned that too. I assume that's
No, yeah,
probably
I
a big part of
definitely.
it.
Yeah, I mean, feeding people has always been kind of. I've always found a lot of connection to feeding people, and you really can speak to people, you know, that maybe you don't agree with in your day to day life, but if you feed them something that they really like, you connect in that way, or stuff like that. I really like that that language and food are kind of the same thing, and we can speak in different ways like that.
Well, that's very interesting because we talk about clothing as a language, right?
Yeah.
Derek Guy, of course, guest of the show, has a thesis of all about that basically, and I think that that is a pretty good point. Though I guess most things are communicative in some way.
Yeah, even like I said, I'm not really a food person, but you know, I can understand where that's coming from because it really is like it's something that like clothing, we all need to survive, and like if you're cooking in a restaurant or you're a head chef or something, like you are trying to say something through the recipes and whatnot that you're putting out into the world. So yeah, it
Yeah.
makes sense, even though I've never really thought about it that way.
Yeah. Let me tell you the story of my people through these Tostino's pizza rolls.
Right.
Nice, yeah, yeah. Well, okay, so you brought it up, and I'm wondering, like, as someone that has done done cooking and things professionally, like, what's the ratio of like, oh, this is really easy and it's like I enjoy it, to like, oh, this is kind of complicated, but I really want to make it, like as far as your kind of day to day life.
Well, I've been making knives now for 5 years, so I've kind of gotten into the swing of things. I mean, knife making is all tedium, and it's all tiny little processes. It's such a huge process that we try to just break it up into as small chunks as we can. Some of them go by really quickly. Some of them you have to clench your butt cheeks and do as best as you can because you're dealing with machines that could rip your fingers, arms,
Right,
legs.
right. You kind of have to be
Tendons.
in the moment.
Yeah, you're 3 inches away from a piece of sandpaper that's spinning at 1,000 RPM. So um, some of it takes some quite delicate finesse, and some of it's just rubbing sandpaper on a piece of wood.
Right.
So it there's a
Very
quite a
predictably modest.
yeah.
But like I've seen it. I mean, I've seen Henry has sharpened my knives before. Not like my knives are extremely nice, but I use them often and they're important to me. And seeing that process, like I don't know, like you go to Ace Hardware, they like ruin your shit.
Yeah.
You go like you maybe there's someone at the farmers market. Either way, there aren't people really doing this,
Yeah.
uh, and you do it really with like, as you say, with a lot of finesse.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think sharpening is really nice because it's a really quiet and meditative practice. You're improving something that needs improving, and you can make a tool that's old feel like new, and a tool that gives meaning to someone, or like your grandmother's kitchen knife that she cooked all these meals for you. You can bring it back to life with just a sharpen. I think that that's, you know, it, and the tools that I'm making, they don't really become the tools that I make until I sharpen them.
Right.
You know, they're kind of just a pretty object until I put an edge on them.
The metal is
So
more alive, sort of. Than
yeah, so it's like the crux of my entire craft is sharpening.
You said you had been into knives for a while. Do you remember? Do you remember your first blade?
I think I mean I remember like taking my dad's like kitchen knives and like going out in the woods and smacking them around in trees, and he'd yell at me and making spears, like take a broom handle and you tape the chef knife to the broom
oh,
handle and you've got a spear, you know.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
just
Yeah,
normal
I
guy
mean,
stuff.
yeah, I grew up in Columbia, Maryland. It was when I was a kid much more rural than it is now. It's where
Right.
like Meriwether Post Pavilion is. And so there wasn't a lot to do out there when I was a kid. So it was a lot of like imagination and making your own games and stuff. And I've got two older sisters who had who wanted nothing to do with me. So I had to kind of make my own game.
yeah, yeah. My friends and I
So I've
used to.
always been kind of, sorry, I've always been kind of like a kid to make my own like toys and stuff out of sticks. And you find the stick that most looks like a sword, and
Right.
you know,
Or a
you find your,
gun.
yeah, yeah, or a gun.
I
Yeah,
was pro
yeah,
gun as a child. I was
yeah, yeah.
extremely pro gun until I was
Nice.
about 9.
Pro stick gun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And now I'm anti-gun in
Sure.
all of the various avenues. I just think like there's something built in with, because of course I see children all the time, right? And like they pick up whatever and it's a gun,
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
it's a knife, it's a sword, but most often it's a gun. And I just like, you just have to contemplate that, I guess,
Yeah.
as
Sure.
an
I mean,
adult.
I mean, it's all imagination, and I think that's everybody wants to be Rambo or whatever when you're 6 years old.
Right.
So
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
right.
My
I
friends
think
and
it's
I
that imagination
in high school, my
that
friends and I would have fucking firework wars, which sounds way worse than like
yeah,
making
Roman candles.
no bottle rockets usually, but we would make like gun, guns out of a piece of PVC pipe that you like tape a
Yeah,
stick
yeah, yeah.
to.
Of course.
Yeah,
The
yeah, and
the vacuum cleaner extension hose.
oh, dude, I never even thought about that, but holy shit, that would have been great.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I remember distinctly like burning a fucking like I don't know, probably second degree burn right above my lip, and I told my mom I was like, oh yeah, like I just ate a really hot piece of pizza. No fucking idea if they bought that or
Nice.
not, but the,
That's a Christian parent.
the things
Yeah.
you do when you're in the middle of nowhere and have to have fun with your derelict friends.
And you're in Georgia, see the fireworks down there are much nicer than up here.
Yeah, well, they weren't legal back then, so we would have to like. I grew up.
Really?
Yeah, I grew up like.
Go down to South Carolina or something like that?
No, so I grew up 20 to 30 minutes or so from the Alabama border, and so we would just go to
Okay.
Alabama and
Yeah,
buy
yeah.
like packs of bottle rockets.
Where there are no laws.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Buy like
it's
the M80 that are
yeah,
a quarter stick of dynamite.
right.
I have to
Basically,
say something. I have to say something about the firework wars. I know this character listens to the show sometimes. So Vassie Holloman, if you're listening, he and my former roommate Eric were hanging out. They were in middle school. Eric shot a bottle rocket and it went up Vassie's jean leg.
oh no,
Nice.
Yeah, just very terrible. So
yeah,
I was like, I'm not fucking with fireworks at all. Like, I remember the burning flesh scent.
yeah,
Like, this is
yeah,
not, this is
yeah.
not that, this is not worth the risk.
At 40, I definitely hate fireworks. At 16,
I was gonna
17,
say
like
that you wouldn't have a firework war with me.
no, fuck no. They scare my animals, and yeah, like 40-year-old me is definitely not in the same camp as 16, 17-year-old me. So we'll leave it there. Um, Henry, do you have any kind of like everyday carry that you're, prone to?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a pocket knife that I got in my pocket right now that I made at a class in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. It's like it's a friction folder
Oh, it's
that
sick.
I made in a class. Um, I also have some other ones. I'm not super big into pocket knives because I mean, I have them, I carry them around because they're useful, but I'm not like a collector by any
Right, right.
means.
Yeah.
I prefer small over, there's some crazy like the Columbia River knife ones that just get huge, and huge pocket knives I don't find are. I like the pen knives the most, the little tiny little
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, totally.
Because I can really make whatever knife I want into a pretty effective tool with sharpening. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's killer.
Yeah, it's like well, I was just gonna say it's like you have the knowledge of fishing, right? Like they taught you to fish with the sharpening, so you have
sure.
knives forever.
Hmm. Yeah. But no, I'm not really like an EDC gear guy.
Yeah, same
Um,
here. Same
I
here.
forget everything. As
I
long as I
can't.
have my phone or my wallet and my keys, like that's a good day for me because I lose that shit all the time.
Right, right. Yeah, I've
People
carried
I
a
know who
knife.
carry pocket knives just have them taken away from them. I feel like
Yeah,
that's like the story. It's like the security guard says, like, go hide it in that bush, and then like
yeah,
it's gone forever.
yeah. That's what we do at Oriole Park when we forget pocket knives in our pocket. We just hide them in underneath the mulch in those planters out where by the ticket office is.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. I've thrown away multiple knives at the airport because I've carried a knife pretty much since I graduated high school, and so it's just one of those things. Like I grab it and then I get to the airport. I'm like, God damn it! Like
Fucking TSA.
fucking TSA. And like I literally just use this to open boxes and like do random shit. Like there's no harm that's gonna be done by this. It's
Well,
just
that's
something.
the utility of a knife, my friend.
I know they come in handy for random shit. It's the best.
So, do you want to walk us through the bespoke blade process? Like, say I wanted a knife.
Sure. I usually like to talk to people about the knives that they like to use already.
Yeah.
Um, and it depends on whether they want to get it replaced or something that will complement that piece. And then everything I make is carbon steel, just because I like working with it a little bit more than stainless steel. It's easier to
What's
work with.
what's
The
the
difference,
yeah, I mean,
carbon steel is the much older version of steel. Stainless didn't really come around until the 50s because you need a lot more chemical processes to make it. It's got Stainless steel starts at 13% chromium by content. Um, and chromium doesn't really like to mix with other alloys, so it's taken them a while to make it more readily available. So the chromium is what makes it stainless, and it's stainless, not stain proof. You can rust stainless very easily. Um, but I don't really like working with it. It doesn't forge very well, and I forge everything. I mean, it's a lot harder to forge. It's a harder material, and to heat treat it to harden it, you need cryogenic most of the time, which I don't have. It's very expensive to have liquid nitrogen or dry ice. And I just think that people have been having carbon steel knives for over 1,000 years. So I think we can keep using it because it's still a very good material to make knives out of. It does stain, it does rust, but I think that that's kind of a beautiful thing about it. It's a lot easier to sharpen. It's a lot easier to work with for me. Um, and I can give two people the same knife, and a year later, we can bring those knives back together, and they'll look differently because of the way that the people have cut with them, the ingredients they've cut, how well they've taken care of them, how well they've sharpened them, if they've sharpened them at all. So that's kind of the thing I really like about it.
yeah, because I guess I always thought about carbon steel as sort of a modern invention. I guess
I mean,
like
it's
it's
mod. I mean, yeah, it's not. I mean, these steels are all made. The steels that I used are all for. They're all like blade steels. They're all like razor blade steels or like edged tool steels that are made specifically to take and hold an edge. Um, I mean, carbon steel is the basest form of steel there is. I mean, it's just
I see.
iron and carbon is, but there's obviously more stuff in it. But that's the basically what makes steel steel is the mixture of those two things. The carbon makes the iron or it makes the steel hard, and
Interesting.
so they've been doing like we've been making steel since whatever came after the Iron Age, basically when we started making steel. And they basically
Yeah.
melted down a bunch of iron sand and charcoal and animal bones because they thought they were putting like the spirits of the animals into the steel. But because when you burn bone, it's just all carbon, that carbon got into the iron, and that's what made so it actually did make like the steel better. But they didn't
Wow.
really know why. They just thought it was like the spirit, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't there, so
If you were there though, you would have been the dude, right? I mean, like,
probably not. Those guys had a lot less tools, so they had to be a lot more skilled in other
so
ways.
they would have looked at you like a city slicker.
Yeah, they would have looked at me like a young gun that needed everything done for me by a welder and
God.
electricity and sandpaper and stuff like that.
What just out of curiosity, what is the learning curve for like identifying different like types of steels and materials and their properties for like what has that been for you?
Um, Identifying steels. I mean, you can't really identify just like a steel off of. I can see like carbon steel versus stainless steel, but I can't see the alloy
Right,
unless you
right.
do like chemical testing on it.
Okay, gotcha.
But like wood is just like anything else. You know, you look at enough of it and you can see that's cherry, that's walnut, that's oak. Um, the learning process of making them is very steep, though. It's a lot of
Yeah.
destroyed blades and not very nice looking ones, and then building your style is a whole different thing. But
Right.
it's just all repetition and not getting too frustrated and not quitting.
Yeah.
1,000 hours or whatever they say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you work leather too, right?
What's that?
You work leather too, right?
I do some leather work. I'm trying to get into it more because I'm trying to kind of like diversify products, but
Yeah.
it's not my bag. It's my assistant likes doing it more than I do,
Oh,
so
that's
I let
cool.
him do it.
Yeah.
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 All of
And
that stuff is like, because I've done a little leather working, and it's just like, how did they ever figure any of it out?
Good, your guess is as good as
Yeah.
mine.
I mean,
I mean,
it's
it's
like
a
a
cool
thousand.
practice. It's just not for me. It's
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
yeah.
It's a little more. I guess it's a little more forgiving than I anticipated.
I find it less forgiving. I find steel to be quite forgiving because it's so hard, and wood to be a little bit less forgiving, and then the softer the material, the less forgiving it, I find it. Especially because like you gotta prep the material just right, and then I don't know. Finishing leather is always the worst. Is always the hardest thing for me. Making it look nice.
Yeah, it seems like a fucking like.
Yeah.
How do you even do it? It's
yeah,
amazing though. I mean, all of it is art.
I've tried to like teach myself how to sew for so many years, and like the way my brain works and the way sewing works, and I assume that like a bunch of these other things just does not compute at all. That's just not how I fucking think. So it'll take
Mm-hmm.
me, take me 30 minutes to sew on something like a patch that someone that actually knows what they're doing would take like 5 minutes to do. It's like, all right,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, like
that's anything. That's practice. You know, when I have my assistant do stuff, it takes him longer than me because yeah, he when I was learning, I was watching my mentor, grind blades, and it just looked like he was pushing it up against the machine and like wiping it, like
right.
going down the blade. And then I tried it, and it's just like ugly as hell, and like burnt everything, and burnt my fingers. Like, how
Yeah,
is he doing this? And he's just like, I don't know. I'm just pushing it up against it. It's all just experience.
experience and repetition.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long had your mentor been forging knives?
He was a stock removal maker. So there's forging where you take a bar of steel and you heat it and hammer it into shape.
Okay.
And then there's stock removal, which is you take a bar of steel that's the thickness that you want it and the height and length, and you cut your blade out of that.
Okay.
So he did, yeah. So he did that rather than forging. He does a little bit of forging, but he's mostly a stock removal guy. But he's been
Gotcha.
making knives for, I think he was making knives for 15 to 20 years by the time that I met him.
Oh, that's cool. Are you guys still in
Uh,
touch?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna. I go down to Charleston every year to help him with the food and wine festival down there. He sets up a
Oh.
table and sells. I go down and I get a little vacation and I get to work with him and help him sell some knives, pay him back for helping me get started, and I also get to hang out in Charleston for a weekend.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Nice little getaway.
Yeah.
So, how like from basically start to finish, like how long does making a custom knife take?
It depends on the custom knife. I mean, if you want just like something small made stock removal style, I can do that in one day for you. And I use some 5-minute epoxy, which is not great, but a lot of knife making is waiting for glue to dry, or for you gotta let things sit at certain temperatures. So if I was just gonna make one knife, I could do it in 3 or 4 days if I
Okay.
was doing it all correctly. And that's 7 hours, so it's 24-ish hours, or no, sorry, yeah, you're kind of 21 to
21 to
28
28.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Intense.
Yeah.
And
Truly, I mean,
I assume you make them one at a time because they're basically like if you're making
I make
custom.
them in I make them in batches. It's a lot more
Okay.
efficient to make.
Got yeah.
You do each step and you do a bunch of knives in one step, because each step is, you go from knife making is all kinds of. It's multidisciplinary. It's blacksmithing. It's whitesmithing, which is sand. It basically with files and sanding and stuff and shaping stuff like that. Jewelry making, woodworking, a little bit of not alchemy, but metallurgy. Um, this, that, and the other, sharpening. There's all kinds of stuff that goes into it. Product design, all kinds of stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah. I thought about that when we were prepping for this because I talked to a friend that is a jewelry maker a couple weeks ago, and I've
Nice.
known her for a while, and I was just like like asked him similar questions, and she was like, yeah, like I could do one at a time, but it would take so much longer. But like
Yeah, for sure.
while I have the materials going in the workshop, like I'll do a batch of stuff, and I'm like, oh, that I didn't
Yeah.
think about that.
Yeah, to get like the forge going, it takes, a certain amount of propane you got to burn to get the forge hot. So it's like you might as well just do a couple pieces while you're going.
Right, right.
Um, yeah, if you're going to turn the oven on and get it to 2,000 degrees, you might as well do a bunch of other ones at 2,000 degrees. Well, I mean, 1,500, but who's counting?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What's the difference really?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't imagine anything that hot, and I live in Georgia, so
Mm-hmm.
I think I know the answer to this question, but like, was there some point where you became kind of confident in the knives you were making? Like, this is
Yeah.
not just like a throwaway thing.
Yeah. I definitely think that I maybe got started professionally a little too early, looking back on it. But yeah, definitely during the lockdown, when it was just kind of, that was all I could do with my day except for hanging out at home. I definitely think that I developed my style mainly during that COVID time, when I figured out that I really wanted to. I started as a stock removal maker, and then started forging more and more as I met my blacksmithing mentor who lives here in Baltimore, and learning more about blacksmithing. And I knew that that was kind of the direction I wanted to go in already, but kind of exploring that and how to make a forged product that was, more repeatable as I got better at forging, um, and kind of getting a product that I felt more was unique or more unique-ish or recognizable as something that I had done rather than just a reproduction of someone else's work.
So what's the signature? I mean, what's the design
Sure.
style like?
Yeah. I do a forged knife that starts from really thick stock. So at the neck, you'll find that it's a lot thicker
Yeah,
right as it comes
because
out
you
the
brought some,
handle.
right?
Hmm?
You brought some, right?
I did. Yeah, I've got some. Would you want me to
The knife
hold
roll.
them in front
Yeah,
of you?
yeah. Why
Okay.
not?
Velcro, Velcro. Sorry, I got to move this over. And I like to leave a lot of that forged finish on there because I think it leaves like the hand of the maker on the piece. Um, and then I really like using local woods. This piece here,
Wow.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
it's Damascus steel. I don't know if I can get that in there. It's low layer Damascus. So you can see the pattern on the blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's so fucking crazy because that's
Um,
like,
and
God,
so this is, I don't know if that's ever gonna, but so
like
it
it was.
comes out of the handle thicker because I start from thicker stock,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have a pretty wild taper down to the tip. I like to have my tips be like somewhat flexible. I don't know if you can actually see that.
Man,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
so
Just
fucking
because
crazy.
that's kind of the
That's
point where you're going
crazy.
through, especially like an onion, you want kind of as thin so you're not kind of like going through and finding resistance.
Yeah.
Because you're working at the tip, you have the least amount of power in that point position because it's as far away from your hand as you can get.
Yeah.
Um, and But then the heel is a lot heavier for it's closer to the thicker stuff, so it's a thicker part of the blade, so you can do more. You can get through like ginger or lemongrass or stuff of that nature that needs a little bit more power behind
Fibers.
it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I like the Japanese handles, the straight kind of octagonal ones with the two pieces. I like to use a mix of both local and exotic woods. This is spalted ash and purple heart. So the ash is local, the purple heart is exotic. Um,
Yeah.
I
Man,
just
and
think
that's
that it
like,
gives a little bit of more story. We're mixing things that are a lot of this wood that I'm getting from Camp Small, which is a Baltimore City program where they take down the trees in Baltimore City and then take them to Camp Small, which is a mill for the city, and they resell all this lumber. They saw it all down into usable lumber, and then makers all around the city can use it, and it's making the city money from things that's just growing in the city that would be just thrown into a dump somewhere otherwise. So, and it gives it so much more of a story. I like to have one of the things that I really wanted was with my maker's mark to have sometimes you don't know who's making these knives. A lot of makers just have like a little logo there and it doesn't have their name or where it's made. So I have my name and Baltimore, Maryland on all my knives so that you know exactly where and who made it.
Repping your city.
Um, yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, I think that one of the reasons why I moved back to Baltimore to start my business, other than that it's where I'm from and I didn't really we can get that to that later. But I just I knew that people would care that things were made in Baltimore,
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
rather
And it's
than
a
like if I
big
moved
selling
to
point, I think.
like oh it's made in Baltimore rather than like it's made in somewhere else where they'd be like I
Well,
don't know where that is.
it's like specifically, right? It's like these Japanese style knives made here in Baltimore by me
Yeah, I
in
wouldn't say they're
Baltimore.
all Japanese style. I mean, it doesn't
Sure,
definitely
sure.
has some influence, but yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's all made. Yeah, it's. I think like
I mean,
people
just another
around here.
layer of, I guess,
Yeah, like
diversity, like
yeah, yeah.
globalism, whatever.
I think that it's this was such an industrial town and so much stuff used to be made here. When I used to live down in the Fells Point area. I lived next to the first ice cream plant that had boxed, prepackaged ice cream. They sold like the first boxed ice cream. It used to be you could only buy it like in stores in like
That there's that huge building that I
yeah.
always see pictures of. It's like a huge brick building with like it looks like windows at the top. It looks like it's a castle.
Uh-huh.
It was an ice factory. It was one of the first ice factories in the world,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
ship their ice all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. So it's, Baltimore used to be like that, and now I think that like some of the people that follow me, I might be one of the only people that they have a connection to Baltimore City. And so
Yeah,
rather than seeing things like, what it always is, like The Wire or shit like
murder.
that,
Yeah,
people see like my work and think that's what their image of Baltimore is. Not that that's the only thing that's in Baltimore, but like if I'm their only connection to Baltimore, I think that's a good thing. Like
yeah,
that they have
yeah.
this
It's
positive view of
creativity. It's art. It's like whatever. It's a
yeah.
positive example, really, of which we have not that many, unfortunately.
I think there's so many artists. When I was super surprised about when I got here was like how supportive the artist community is in Baltimore and how wide it is. How many
Oh
people are
yeah,
making all kinds of shit in this town. I mean, it's a super industrious town, even though industry is left for the most part.
Right. Yeah. Atlanta's kind of similar. I think we've talked about this endlessly because both Connor and myself love where we're from. But yeah, like it's if there's something that's like Atlanta based, regardless of
Hmm.
what it is, like there's a pride to that for me because like
Yeah,
it's just not as ubiquitous as it once was.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I was gonna say before. I when I was down in Charleston, I Charleston's nice. I love Charleston, but after living there for 6 years, I still felt like I was a tourist there, kind of.
Yeah,
And
yeah, for sure.
because I'm from Maryland, people are like, "Oh, you're a northern boy," and I was like, "Well, how long can I live here until people say maybe you belong here?" And I thought, like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. I was
Even though
like,
even though technically Maryland is southern, uh,
yeah,
yeah, we
it's not even technically.
it's
It
not.
just
it's,
It's
it's
not.
is.
technically it is, but
I don't believe. I think it's its own thing. I think the Mid Atlantic region is neither northern nor southern. It
It's
yeah,
has
below the Mason
influences
Dixon.
both. It is below, but I think we are. I think that we have our own kind of culture in the Mid
yeah,
Atlantic area.
Central
I
Atlantic
mean,
is
I
definitely
agree.
different. Yeah, I
And
wouldn't
it's like a 50-50 split, sort of.
I
But
wouldn't
I think
consider Philadelphia a typical northern city. Like
No,
Philadelphia
I
or
wouldn't consider
Baltimore,
Philadelphia on the Mid Atlantic.
the Central
I
Atlantic.
think more
Yeah,
than the
it
Mid
definitely
Atlantic. It's
is.
only like an hour and a half north of here.
Yeah, yeah,
But they're like over there.
They're like over there. Yeah, I think it's like Central Jersey, which some people say doesn't exist,
right.
down to like Richmond is the Mid Atlantic.
Yeah, something like that.
Well,
Something.
and then I mean, and then it pains me to include Virginia in anything that I'm a part of.
Oh, I
Richmond,
know.
Richmond rules though. Richmond
Richmond's
fucking
I have
cool.
heard that Richmond is actually
Yeah,
great. I
Richmond's
think
very
it's
most
cool.
dude,
people compare it to Baltimore.
when
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
mean I can see that it's smaller than like both Atlanta and Baltimore, but has similarities with both from the
Yeah,
extensive amount of time that I've spent
yeah. I've been thinking about how Maryland has been getting how much it's changed since I was a kid, and
there. Right,
then
oh
kind of
yeah.
like and then like looking back from there, I think it probably was a lot more southern in the past,
right,
and
right.
is now kind of like really becoming its kind of its own region with the Mid Atlantic,
Which is tight. I
forging its
mean,
own.
similarly, Texas, like
Yeah,
Texas has changed completely.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy.
Arizona,
You know.
but it's diversity, right? It's like
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah.
the North.
I grew up like living on Route 40, where like Koreatown is,
Uh-huh.
and that I mean, there was like a couple places, but like nowadays, it's just like like mecca of good food and like the best grocery stores,
Yeah.
and I love that area.
It's the. I mean, you can't argue with the. You
Yeah,
can't argue with the stores. Like
can't
you can't
argue
argue
with
with
the amount of
H&R.
hot pot you can get down there in Korean barbecue.
Right. God
So
bless. God
Yeah.
uh,
bless America.
I'm vegan, so I cannot partake in most of that. But surely there is a vegan.
That's not true.
They've got vegan
They've got
options.
tons of fucking
Yeah,
vegan
they've
stuff.
got
Yeah,
all kinds of
yeah.
vegan options there.
That's good to know. I will. Yeah, I'll have to check out Beaver Highway and find a good spot with hot pots
Yeah.
and vegan barbecue shit. Um.
Yeah, they probably have. I mean, it's all vegetable mostly, and then the meat.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's just like the nice seasoned broths that you cook everything in, and your dipping sauce.
Hell yeah. So Henry, what or who, if you can put a label on it, is the average customer that's buying knives from you?
Most of them are home cooks right now.
Okay.
I started with mostly professionals because that's who I knew a lot of. But I think for the most part, it's home cooks who are, getting into the. I think there's definitely like a shift away from mass produced stuff and
Hmm.
single use stuff and buying knives and throwing them out when they're old and cruddy. So I think, and that's kind of why I started sharpening as well. Is like, um, you know, I know that my $400 knives are not in most people's kind of, um, what they're gonna buy.
Right.
I
So
just
I
think it's
like.
like it seems low.
I
You
know,
know,
yeah, and I am.
like
I'm in a lower. I purposely keep myself low for that. I don't want to be. I make 700, 800, $900 chef knives, but that's just not the kind of market I want to be in for the
yeah.
most of my business. Um, but I know that people already have knives and they need them sharpened, and especially here in Baltimore, there is not a good place to get it sharpened.
There's
There's
none. Even at Ace Hardware, they made it a
Oh no, not Ace Hardware.
AI AI sharpening machine.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah.
fuck that.
And at the farmers markets, I fixed a lot of farmers market sharpeners knives.
Yeah,
So yeah, um, I forgot what the question.
not like Ace is a small mom and pop operation.
No, but that's
It's
kind of
like,
the problem is that they just put someone in front of the machine and just feed a knife into it.
well, the AI one, it's like you put the knife in there, close it, and it's like
Hmm,
hideous,
lovely.
hideous.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
not a
gotta
good
go
sound.
vandalize that thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll say that I'll do it. You don't have to say
Okay.
anything.
Yeah. Just to protect my. Well, I'm an LLC, so if it's a business practice, they can't sue me. They can only sue the business.
Ah,
Yeah.
I gotta get an LLC.
Yeah.
Apocalypse Duds LLC. We're doing it.
Hmm.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about clothes for a moment?
Yeah. Let's talk about clothes. Uh, what just to start the clothing discussion off. What's your usual daily type of wear and rig for what you do?
Sure. Well, now it's becoming more the summer, so I need to get a new set of work shorts. I really like canvas everything.
Yeah,
Um,
it holds up.
just for fire control and spark control and the odd thing flying at you control. Usually I wear like work pants. I'm wearing I think they're Milwaukee pants.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, Home Depot really set me up. I'm a skinny leg person, so I'm a skinny pant kind of person as well. Just because I feel like I'm swimming in a junky pant or not junky, in a big. What
Chunky
is it?
pants.
Yeah. I just swim in those kind of pants. So and then usually for shirts, I get old shirts just because I know I'm gonna fuck them up. Right now, I'm wearing a nice shirt. I had to wear an apron just for this to keep this shirt nice and clean. And then I do a lot of hats just because of the amount of dust. It's insane. Keep it out of my hair, keep the metal dust out of my hair.
You're a genuine working person,
Yeah,
which there's a lot of like workwear cosplay in the
sure. Yeah,
menswear
yeah.
space, and yours is all
Like actually
enviable.
using
You
it.
probably
Yeah.
have some really fucked up stuff,
I
right?
got some
Like,
really fucked up stuff. All my old Volo kickball shirts, keep
yeah.
all those, and I just burn big holes in them. And
What's the apron? What's the apron like? Is that
just a big
noticeable?
leather apron, a big long one, because I find that a lot of them aren't long enough. They don't cover your knees. If you drop a sharp knife and your knees are out, I
Ooh,
like
Jeez,
one.
jeez.
Or
yeah.
you drop a knife that's 2,000 degrees. You don't really want that going down your pant leg or your boot.
It just sounds very scary.
Yeah, it can get very scary. And then I'm a pretty much every shoe I have except for sandals are all either high rise or boots.
Hmm.
I've got little bird ankles, so
Whoa,
I
well,
need
for our listeners, what does that mean?
a bird ankle. I just have like really thin legs and then tiny little weak
Oh, like
ankles.
a right.
Yeah,
Bird
the ankle
ankle.
of a
Right,
bird.
right.
So I just need as much support as I can get. I used to play rugby in college. We played on a Hurricane Hugo dump site, and so there'd be potholes and stuff that I just rolled my ankle so bad. I
Yeah.
tore my ankle tendon, and it's never really
Oh,
healed. So I've just always
It's not
needed the
apparent because you're in the video, but you are. You could have been back then. You could have been like a grunting warrior or something.
Yeah, I'm a bit tall. Yeah,
right,
I'm a
right.
big boy.
What
Yeah,
a
so it's cool. I mean, if I was making knives, it would be like this guy, this pipsqueak. But
Yeah,
you, it's like go
exactly.
make an axe.
Yeah. No, it's all my upper body is all my size, and then my legs are just long and slender. That's where my height comes from.
what's your preferred boots?
Very funny.
My preferred boots. Right now,
Yeah.
I'm wearing some Danners. I've
Nice. What
got
are they?
some. I've got some. I like Georgia boots. Georgia boots are
Oh,
good,
Georgia boots are
and
great.
then and thorough goods as well.
Yeah. What are the Danners? I mean, just out of
Um,
I'm not saying like what is the model number. I have like three pairs. I like.
yeah, I just got like I
Are
think they're
they
just like
suede?
the
Are they
high rise
hikers?
tans.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, just work boots, I guess. I don't know. I really like the way they look though. I'm super
Yeah.
into boots. I've always been into boots. I want to get more boots, but I've got so many and they're all kind of fucked up.
Do you have a wish list of stuff? Do you have like when I sold 50 knives, I'm gonna buy me a pair of.
No, I started working in kitchens and I started in boots and then they made me switch to Crocs, so I do still have a love for Crocs.
I love them too.
Um, and then I'd really like to get like a pair of handmade boots like Nicks,
Oh yeah,
or I know that there's some other names you can just some guy's name and put handmade boots behind that, and that's probably a good one.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm not really like a sneakerhead. I wear Vans. I wear high top Vans because that ankle support is necessary. I usually just have the
Bird
black ones
ankles.
with the gum sole.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
classic.
Skate highs.
I think yeah, I need a new pair of those because I've worn straight through the bottom, so I'm basically just walking on pavement now.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't skate, but I just like the high tops. I just need the ankle support.
They're better in my view. I
yeah.
mean,
I
they're like
am. Yeah, I am pretty much all like high top everything, or like at least mid. Like the boots that I'm wearing now are like right above the ankle, but skate highs, uh, high top Chuck
Hmm.
Taylors. That's
I
all my
think the
shit.
low top wallaby is maybe better than the high top wallaby, but
Yeah, wallabies I can't
generally
do
speaking, high
anymore. And I've
Is
hit.
that the chukka boots? Is that what those are?
they are, I guess, many people know them because the Wu Tang clan
Oh.
it was a big proponent of the Clark's Wallaby boot.
Hmm.
They're hideous, basically. They're like Inuit sort of looking.
Sure.
They're definitely
I
like
also I
ugly good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a Chelsea man. I like the
Oh,
Chelsea boot
nice. Yeah.
because the days you go out drinking, you just want to, or I guess I don't know if you guys are, but on my lazy days, I like to wear the Chelsea boot. You can just take
Well,
them,
you
slip
can't.
them on,
Yeah,
slip
you
them
can't
off.
argue with the slip on.
Yeah,
No,
you
no,
can't argue
definitely
with the
not.
slip
Definitely
on.
not. When I
It's
stop
so
being cheap,
nice.
when I stop being cheap, I will buy another pair of one stones because those are like the perfect boots, in my opinion. My
Yeah, I
old
just
pair.
got Doc Martens. I got them on sale.
Oh hell
I think it was like, I got two boots for the price of one. I think they were doing like a closing sale or something, or their end of the year sale or something. So
Yeah.
I got two pairs of Chelsea's, one for work and one for not work.
Steel.
Yeah,
And that is that a Monument Brewing hat?
yeah, Monument Brewing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
is a good
nice.
hat.
They're. I'm more of a fan of the building they're in than their beer personally, but
Yeah.
it's a really cool building. It's at the end of the end of Baltimore and the end of Baltimore Street and over in Highlandtown, and they're in an old gun stock manufacturing plant.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
They used to make veneers for gun stocks.
Wow.
It's really cool. It was an old wartime factory.
There's just so much of that. I mean,
Yeah,
I've
that's
been
my
to
kind
that.
of that's what I look for is just buildings. I really love buildings, especially in this
Do you
area.
have a favorite building in Baltimore?
Uh, ooh, it'd
It's
have to
very hard to
be.
choose.
Yeah, that's a large order. If you've ever seen I really like the building that Sandtown Furniture has down by the stadiums.
That's where I
They
work.
turned,
Yeah.
yeah, they turned that building into quite one of the more beautiful workshops that's in this town. They turned like an old, huge, I think it's like a 40 or 50-foot ceilings, and they split it up with a glass pane between their showroom and their workroom. And it's just a gorgeous space. I can't imagine that they heat or air condition the back where everybody's working, but they do air condition the front, which is nice. I'm in my first air conditioned shop now, so I really, I don't think I could ever do without it again.
Well, man, with the thousands and thousands of
Yeah,
degrees, it's
the
like,
summer's not bad. The winter is the worst.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, when you're standing there freezing, because I when you're grinding knives, you have to have your hands in like a bucket of water,
Oh,
so you're just like
okay. I didn't even think about
standing
that.
there. And yeah,
brutal.
the summers are not nice. It gets very hot, but the winters are worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a hot weather guy. I mean, like living down in Charleston and coming back up here, I like the summer. It can be as hot as anything, and I don't mind. If it gets cold, though, I've lost all my cold resistance.
You're in luck, actually, because I don't know how familiar you are with the scientific community, but there's some thinking that it's going to get a little hotter.
Hmm. Yeah.
Just a scotch.
We're
Just
breaking that story here.
Yeah.
breaking. Climate change is real, folks. Climate change is
Okay.
real. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah. I'm looking
so
forward to it.
so I don't know why my Instagram Explorer is maybe one of the most unhinged places of all of the internet, and don't know if that's my doing or what. But so for the past I don't know 6 months or so, a lot of these like TikTok videos of people making the most absurd recipe you've ever fucking seen in your life pop up,
Hmm.
and then there's the reaction, which is a lot of chefs,
Rage.
yeah, rage, and then
Yeah.
people make these like videos of them reacting to this
Hmm.
shit recipe, which I find personally hilarious. So I guess
But that's their audience. That's
that
that video's audience.
that
Is
is
that
that
chef?
video's audience. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like we're gonna piss you off, buddy.
Right, right. Just as someone that has worked in and like is still kind of connected to the whole like food chef community, what have you
Sure.
seen as far as this kind of like proliferation goes? Like, what's your take on it?
I think it's all just clickbait. I mean, it's just to make you mad. It's not their. I think that none of these like shitty recipes where they're putting a pound of cream cheese and a thing of tater tots and an entire bag of Mexican shredded cheese together to make like old grandma's recipe. I don't think that's real. I think it's just
Yeah,
to piss you off.
yeah, it's all like bullshit.
Or
Right?
mixing with your hands or something like that, and like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know
What?
that things like that that piss people off, like a no glove mixing of the hands, or like cross contamination with the chicken, or just the guys that just eat raw
Watching
chicken
chicken.
breasts.
Oh God, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like it's all just to make you mad, and it works.
I mean, yeah. The
Unless
one
you don't give a
like
shit about it or consume it.
some
It's
of
just like the tattoo. It's just like the shitty tattoo trend of like people just taking videos of them in their like kitchen with no gloves and drawing like stick figures and
right,
what is it
right,
called, the ignorant style tattoos. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. It's like being it's not that being good is no longer fashionable, but they find that being bad and overtly bad
right.
also draws the same attention as being good or more.
What
Yeah.
I've been doing my whole life.
Yeah.
Like I've kind of wondered with it. Like you see the people that seem somewhat earnest, and no offense to anyone, but mostly white people
Yes.
doing this dumb shit, and I'm like, guys,
White people are the fail-vid people.
yeah, that they truly are. It just makes you wonder, like, how much of this is just like, oh, grandmama showed me this recipe, and how much of this is like, what is the ratio of like, oh, I think this is actually good versus like I want to make you mad, and if I don't know, it's one of those funny ass things.
It's all
that,
shitty.
it's just like it's funny how big that whole community, and I guess like you could apply this broadly across like all viral videos, but like there can't be that many people that are like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna piss people off with this. Like, I feel like some of it has to be a little earnest.
There doesn't have to be that many people.
Yeah,
it just has to be like 5 people.
Yeah.
It's also not a new thing. It's like Duchamp and his urinal back in the day with that piece. Like it's the same exact phenomenon of pissing people off to get attention.
A good policy is to consume nothing.
Sure.
No media, no food, nothing. And then it's like, get mad at what? Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, John Prine said, blow up your TV, throw away your paper.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Good John Prine.
Move to the country, build you a home.
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
We talked about John on this program.
We have one of the best songwriters or American songwriters of all time, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is going to be pleased.
Yes.
Just kidding. My mom doesn't listen to the show anymore.
Yeah, I curse too much. I ran Connor's mom.
Matt swears too much.
Yeah.
For her delicate ears.
Right. Yeah, dude, this has been fun. So not to throw a wrench into things, but Connor had mentioned this morning something about you wanting, or you might bring up punk rock and what punk means during our interview, which I'm very curious about.
I might do that?
Yeah.
That you were wondering about parameters of
sure.
punk ideology.
Yeah. I'd never really considered myself to be punk rock, but Connor seems to be convinced that I am punk rock.
I think the knife making thing is, right? It's DIY and it's about beautification.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it is very anti-consumerism, I guess. It's no big producer and
anti-establishment, shop small.
Yeah.
Like there weirdly is a kind of consumer angle to it, I guess. Like go to the thrift store, buy stuff that is used.
Yeah.
Well,
I reclaim a lot of stuff.
Yeah, right. The reclaimed wood.
Like
I don't know how punk rock that is.
You talking about making like you getting into sharpening. and kind of like saving some older stuff because you could bring it back to life. Like that's fucking punk. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like
Now, now I'm fighting against big auto with my recent car purchase. Just bought a 1999 K truck.
You got to talk
ooh
about the truck. You got to
Yeah,
talk about the truck because Hank is a little truck guy.
Hank's a K truck guy. I drove my K truck all the way over to here. I live just up in Baltimore County, so I'm just driving up and down Falls Roads, just on like one of the most scenic motorcycle roads. I just live right up it, so I just drive straight down it in my little K truck. It's been great. It's been fantastic.
That's awesome. I definitely have to check it out.
those top out at what, like 55 or so?
Yeah, 55. Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So not amazing for hiking.
Not a highway vehicle, but I mean I've got the same bed size as most American trucks. It's a right hand stick shift. I wanted a stick shift truck for so long, but the nearest one is like a Tacoma or a Jeep for like $45,000. I paid
Yeah, right.
$6,000 for this truck.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got 40,000 miles on it.
Did you
It's
get it?
like
Like, I know for a while, like they were hard to import. Um, is that
yeah,
is
I
that
just
cheap?
imported mine. The hardest part was the port because I imported it and then it was like 2 weeks away from being delivered and the key bridge collapsed.
Oh fuck!
And so yeah. And so it got diverted to Newark, and it was a bit of a trouble getting it out of the port of Newark.
Right.
But other than that, it was a really easy process.
That's cool.
It took a little bit of paperwork and like patience, but I built my own workshop, so I've got the patience for long processes like this. So it's like, sure,
You've
it's a
done it
little bit of
all
paperwork.
yourself, it sounds like.
Yeah, I do like to do. I mean, I've recently, maybe in the last pretty much 5 years, yeah, when I started my business, have really gotten into just kind of figuring stuff out. And DIY has been one of the things that somebody told me in a class I was in was like, the more you know, the less you have to rely on other people. And I think it's also a lot of it's like confidence, just try and do it. And if it blows up in your face, then you know not to do that next time. Um,
We've
yeah,
talked about that on this show before, like I don't know, basically how to get things done. We were talking about it just now, just last episode. And it's amazing to hear like how people do um how people get their stuff done, basically. It's
yeah.
a
I mean,
wonder
if
that any of
you
us would
don't do
get
it,
to
someone
do
else has got
anything.
to do it. So,
Right.
Right, right. And
um,
usually you have to pay those people to do it for you. So
yeah,
if you,
usually,
yeah, if you can figure it out for yourself, then all the better.
yeah, yeah. We've been redesigning. I just bought a house that's a 1870s farmhouse up in the county, and so it's been a lot of a process fixing it up, and a lot of it's been doing it and figuring it out. And it's been a great process. I really like. I just painted and wallpapered my dining room and did it all myself.
With what kind of wallpaper?
It's a white, gold, and black, like crane maximalist print. It's very like, yeah, it's kind of like, it gives me a little bit of Gilded Age. It gives a little bit of like, you know, of Jay Gatsby, but I
It's
also
very
think it's like,
beautiful. We'll put the picture up if
sure,
you'll.
sure, yeah. The plan for it was to kind of be like, a room where you do like a deal with the devil, I guess. And that was kind of my inspiration for doing it. And it's like gilded and a little bit dark and black. And then all the art we're having on the wall is tattoo, like flash art.
Nice.
It's going to be, and we just finished it and it looks really good. And it feels really good to do it yourself. And probably would have been a pretty expensive job to have someone, because I wallpapered the ceiling. So it's like not a very easy, probably one of the harder ways to wallpaper. Um,
That
yeah,
sounds like a fun process to figure out.
it was really fun. I really enjoy wallpaper. People said that wallpapering was going to be hard. It's not easy, but people said it would suck. But I had a lot of fun doing it.
Fuck yeah, yeah.
Might open up a wallpaper business myself.
There you go.
That'd be Yeah.
You
Well,
support it. We
yeah,
support all your
we
endeavors.
support all the endeavors. Henry, dude, this has been great. Thank you for coming
Yeah.
on. And we didn't say this, but Henry and Connor are in the same house, and yeah,
Yeah.
we don't get to do a lot of these. My friend Sam did one last fall where she like came over to my friend Eleanor's house that I was house sitting for. But yeah, dude, it's been highly enjoyable, and
Yeah.
I think I learned more about making knives than I ever actually thought I would know. So thank you. We always give
Thank you.
we always give our guests a chance to plug whatever they want to plug. So have at it.
My Instagram is Hyde Handmade. You can just look up Hyde Handmade Knives or Hyde Baltimore. Yeah, I make knives and related kitchen items, cutting boards, chopsticks. I want to start making spoons and spatulas and stuff
Ooh,
like that.
fuck yeah!
But yeah, if you're looking into supporting a local business to get some cooler stuff in your kitchen or getting your stuff in your kitchen fixed, give me a shout. And it's also hydehandmadeknives.com for my website.
And Hyde being HYDE. I don't know why.
HYDE, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like that should be a distinction.
for sure.
Anyway, Henry, one more time, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for listening. Please rate, like, subscribe, review, etc., on your platform of choice. I am Matt Smith at Rebels Rogues.
And I'm Connor Fowler, which my handle is still different. So real Connor Nunez, but we'll see.
Yeah,
We're back.
we're at Apocalypse Duds on Instagram, apocalypseduds@gmail.com. If you like to send us fucking anything, we've still only gotten a couple over the past 2 years. Send us an emoji. Tell us we suck. We don't really give a shit. Just send us a fucking email, please. Anyway, once again, thank you for listening, and we will see you next week with a new episode.
Toodaloo.